Hello. Um, we've just finished Module 3 on organizational structure, and I just wanted to take a moment and tell you guys that I was very happy overall with the work you guys did on this particular topic. It's a topic that a lot of people disregard, and I think is very important for reasons that I think you did a good idea, did a good job of understanding why. Um, I think everybody understood about the vertical dimension, whether it's a tall or flat structure. And I think you all understand about the pros and cons of that. Um, a, a little bit less was there a focus on, and did you seem to engage in discussion about the horizontal dimension, of it. Now, horizontal dimension does not necessarily mean span of control being wider. Of course, in flat structures, span of control is wider, but the horizontal dimension also deals with the differing types of styles that you can have, and fundamentally there are three kinds. There's a functional, a divisional, and a matrix. A matrix is something completely different, relatively unused. I like it. It's a unique approach, but for the purposes of this class and this particular module, I just want to take a moment and talk to you about that dimension of horizontal, and really talk to you about the distinctions between uh, a functional structure and a divisional structure. Most organizations, 65, 70%, uh, organize themselves by function. And what that simply means is if you were to look at the organizational chart of any organizations, they would basically have it very simple. They would say, we have one function, called engineering, another one called manufacturing, another one, called quality control, another one called human resources, another one called finance, and the people who are in those functions, uh, are specialists in those areas. And it makes a tremendous amount of sense in many, many ways. However, one of the problems with this functional structure is that there is a lack of communication between these functions. Sometimes we call them silos, like very hard, rigid walls, so that the people in manufacturing aren't talking to the people in production, or engineering, who should be talking to the people in quality control. But because they are separate, and at the top there's probably some vice president of manufacturing, vice president of engineering, so on and so forth. So the alternative approach, a good alternative, is one called a divisional structure. A divisional structure says a big company like Boeing Aircraft or McDonnell Douglas Aircraft, they have a commercial airline division, they have a military aircraft division, they have a private aircraft division, and so forth. Now, within each of those divisions, divisional structure, uh, the are contained all of the functions. So the commercial airline division has manufacturing and engineering and finance and whatever else they need to support that particular function. The same thing exists in the military. The same thing convention in the private aircraft. So there's pros and there's cons to it. Um, the pros is that within one particular division, let's just say commercial aircraft, you have everything that you need. And because they all report to the same vice president, that vice president can help coordinate the communication, across the functions. So within commercial aircraft, the management is making sure that the engineering department is talking to the production department, it's talking to the to the quality control department. Oh, by the way, guys, in the background is one of my two cats. That's the old guy, Baxter. There'll be a kitten flying around here pretty soon. Um, so that's a divisional structure. Now, of course, there are problems with divisional structures too. There's a lot of redundancy. Okay, because those three divisions that we were talking about, commercial, military, and private, all need human resources. They all need finance. They all need manufacturing. They all need engineering. They all need quality control. They all need facilities. They all need. So there's some redundancy. So you have HR people who sit in each group. Now that can be a problem also, but it's like, which problem would you rather have? And just like you can be tall or you can be short, you can be functional, you can be divisional. And we didn't talk so much about the functional and divisional, so I wanted to make sure that you really understood that distinction. Okay, but very good job. I'm very happy. Thank you. I like to be happy. As we move forward into Module 4 on motivation, many of the theories that we're talking about, goal theory, two-factor theory, so forth, they're pretty easy to understand. But the one theory which I think is a very good one, that traditionally students have difficulty grasping, is expectancy theory. And so I'd like to just spend a couple minutes talking to you about expectancy theory. It's actually very simple. Hang on, I'm going to take a drink of water here. Expectancy theory is what we call a cognitive theory. It basically says that when a rational human being is working in an organization and they are given a task to do, they instantaneously do an analysis. They look at the task and they say, okay, do I have the knowledge? Do I have the skills? Do I have the time? Do I have the money? Do I have the resources? Do I have the connections to be able to do that task? And it's an instantaneous analysis. There's a couple other things they think about too. They think about, well, if I achieve that goal, am I going to get some kind of reward? And if I do receive a reward, is it a reward that I actually want? So think about it in three separate chunks. Number one is what we call the E to P, the effort to performance. You're asking yourself the question. Remember, this is a cognitive theory. It says people do this mentally in their head all the time. I got a task. The first hunk is, will my effort, no matter how hard I work, result in me being able to perform the task to its completion, to its satisfaction, to the satisfaction of whoever is determining satisfaction? Will my effort lead to performance? The second hunk is, okay, I did it. It was up to standard. Now, am I going to get a reward? And the third part is, okay, am I going to like that reward? And unless all three of those elements you are happy with, yes, I see no barriers that my effort will lead to me performing the task. Yes, I'm rather certain I'm going to get the reward. And yes, it's money. So, of course, I'm going to like the reward. In that situation, you can have a high motivational rate. If you don't think you have the resources, you don't think you have the skills and knowledge and ability, you don't think you have the time to do it, you don't want the reward, or you don't think you will get the reward, then you're not going to be motivated. It's that simple. Okay, let me give you a quick example. When I was working for a large computer company, EMC Corporation, we had quarterly goals. One of my quarterly goals was I was working in leadership development, executive development. One of the goals was for me to write a competency model for the vice presidential level, uh, uh, take that model and do a 360-degree assessment on those vice presidents, and then take that model and mount it onto the World Wide Web company website so that all vice presidents worldwide would have access to that whenever they needed to, and anytime they wanted to refer back to it. Okay, so I looked at that task and I said, uh-oh, I have a problem. Of course I know how to write a competency model. I had written it for all the rest of the company. Of course I could do the assessment, but mounting it on the World Wide Web, I'm not a computer geek. I don't have keys to the computer room. I don't have access to that kind of technology. They wouldn't let me touch it, and they shouldn't. So I automatically saw a problem, didn't I? Okay. Now, let me show you how some of these topics work together. If I were in a divisional structure, and I wasn't, I was in a functional structure. Because my problem is because I was in a functional structure, I couldn't go to my vice president who gave me the goals and say, I have a problem. I can do the competency model, I can do the assessment, but I don't have any way of mounting it on the World Wide Web. I'm going to need help from somebody over in IT. Well, he didn't control IT because I was in the human resource function. IT is in the IT function. He couldn't, and if he were to call the vice president over in IT and say one of my guys needs help, he would have probably, the guy could have very likely said, I'm not going to help you. All of my goals I handed out already. I have my people working, as hard as they can do to achieve their own goals. And that brings to mind a whole issue about this class. All these topics eventually crunch together. We study them independently. We study teamwork separately from what we study structure, separately from what we call, but they all go together. In this particular case, the team organizations need to realize that if you're going to use a goaling structure, like goal theory, motivational theory, if you're going to have goals for a single individual that are out of their control, expectancy theory, then you need to remove those barriers and use your power as a vice president to get the person the assistance. Now, of course, if in fact we were in a divisional structure and the vice president of support and had HR in their group, had IT in their group, it's a function that supports all the other functions. You have engineering, you have production, and you have a function over here called support. Now, if there was one function called support, and the same vice president had HR and IT, there wouldn't have been a problem with it, because I could have gone to my vice president and said, I need help from support, and from IT, I need support from IT, and he would have said, no problem, I'll make it happen because I'm in charge of IT also. I love this stuff. It's so fascinating. You guys work hard this week. Motivation is very, very, very important. Very important. I've worked too long in the corporate world to know that I would rather have a motivated person who was maybe a B student than a student who was an A+ student and didn't work very hard. And when we say motivation, folks, we don't talk about one project or 1 week or 1 quarter. We're talking about somebody who comes in every single day, month after month after year after decade. And they are always ready to put in the effort. Because to me, the one-word definition of motivation is effort. Okay, have a great week. Talk to you later.